chips.
All right, first question on X comes from Jeremy Muse. He says, how much does scheme matter? Example, Quinn brings in his guys like Armstrong, Wagner, and Fowler, and they've all been huge. On the flip side, Pearson Houston looks great rookie year. New OC takes over, switches to outside zone. He looks like he's never seen football before. Yeah, scheme matters a lot.
This guy's awesome, by the way. Jeremy,
yeah.
Every tweet or message I get from this guy is like the most football guy type shit.
I love that.
Okay.
Those are our listeners. Yeah, scheme matters a lot. I mean, fit matters a lot too. You see it every year, especially on the defense side of the ball. Guys being asked to do things that they are comfortable doing. So yeah, it matters a ton. And I think running backs too. Some guys are better at certain schemes than others. Yeah, I don't know how much more to say. Like it matters.
This is why I always say coaching matters too, right?
Yes.
And this is why I loved Rex Ryan, because he always said, "Don't tell me what a player can't do. Tell me what he can do." And he's going to put you in a position to succeed based on what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We always had a rule in football, right? Alignment, have your alignment based off your ability, right? And so Rex will never put you out of alignment based off what he knows you could or couldn't do. So like people kill me. Yes, scheme matters, but you also got to figure out how to use the pieces that are on your offense and defense, right? And this is why Liam Cohen had such a special year, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had been known for years for not running the football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think what was last year, maybe where Rashad Wright was the first time I had a 1,000-yard back in like 10 years or something like that. And then Bucky Irvin doubles it down. And he did it not even starting like the first 7 or 8 games of the season. So he was able to adjust when Chris Godwin got hurt, right? They went to 2-back sets. They got inventive with the offense. That's why scheme matters and coaching matters, right? But it's not just about scheme. To his point, right? Pierce looked like he was going to be the future back for Houston his rookie year. And they changed from more of a G scheme to a zone scheme. Now, again, good coaches are able to sprinkle in what a player does well. Mm-hmm. So when Pierce is in the game, you don't want to just lock him into only doing G scheme because the defense can pick up on that. But you got to mix it in because that's what he does well. So, like, say he gets 7 carries a game. 3 need to be zone scheme. The rest need to be some type of G scheme, some type of deuce block scheme, duo type scheme. That way, that really highlights what he does well.
And I like that you brought up Tampa Bay because they literally even did that this year. And they highlighted on the broadcast that they were, a pretty varied run scheme before. And they went heavy gap scheme by the end of the season because Bucky was so good at it. So,
bring the guard, bring the tackle, seal the backside, and just follow the hogs. And the one guy that I always think about is Leonard Floyd. We drafted Leonard Floyd in Chicago. He was a do-it-all guy. He could cover your tight end to the sideline. He could chase down a running back. So what happened was he is one of these guys that can do 90% of things on a football field, but they were asking him at the beginning to do the 10% of things that he couldn't do. They lined him up at edge rusher, and he would just get, stuff. He didn't have the timing of his speed to power yet. He didn't have his bag of tricks yet. And one thing that I appreciate about that staff that had him, that defensive staff, is after a while, they moved him over the center and did an off-the-ball spinner look, and let him rush over the center. And he had a ton of success there. It used to drive us crazy. But I remember thinking, hey, that was really smart. This guy who is clearly physically gifted, clearly a great football player, you had him doing so. You were fitting a square peg in a round hole. Correct. You put him inside, and he has the fluidity. So that's where coaching and scheme matters.
I thought they should have never let him get out the building.
Never. And Roquan. And Eddie Jackson.
The list goes on.
All right, this one comes from True Trade. He asks, is Geno the best option for the Seahawks going forward?
The only option. I mean, where they're at in the draft, they went 10-7. Let's not forget, most years 10-7 gets you into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. It was just unfortunate this year because of, I think it was strength of schedule or tiebreakers that they didn't get in. That shows you the NFC was pretty strong this year. But, where are they going to go? We saw what happened when they put Sam Howell in the game. They're not going to be in a position to take a quarterback of the future. And who's to say that they're even high on Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders anyway? Mm-hmm. So, honestly, I think Geno's cap number is like $44 million. I would not be surprised if they restructure and give him one more year.
I would add a year. Yeah,
because it just makes too much sense. And then let's not forget, I was going to say this will be a second year in the offense, but they got rid of the offensive coordinator, which is kind of tough. But Geno does need to not turn the ball over as much as he did, which he usually takes care of the ball. So it was kind of weird this year that I felt like he was pressing sometimes.
I think Geno's definitely the guy. And you get a new offensive coordinator in the building next year. You're going to want a veteran quarterback to be able to retain and then regurgitate that information to the young guys at the receiver position, the offensive line. They're all going to be learning together. The last thing you want is a day one guy to be paired with a day one guy. I think that can be dangerous.
Selfishly, I want Josh McCown to be paired with Aaron Glenn. But that's a name. If I'm Mike McDaniel,
Mike McDonald.
McDonald, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm throwing whatever he wants, checkbook-wise, at Josh McCown to come to Seattle.
Best teammate ever.
Yeah.
We feel like we have the defense. We have players on the offense. Now, it'll be interesting to see what they do at receiver because Tyler Lockett is getting up there. And the DK and Geno thing seems weird. Right now, Jackson Smith and Jigba is clearly the number one guy now. DK and Geno not being on the same page caused some of those interceptions.
We need to get DK that book that
something needs to happen
A.J. Brown was reading.
Like, you cannot continue to go because Geno throws with so much anticipation. If you're supposed to be somewhere, that's where the ball is going to be. So it's been like that for the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that going forward.
Yeah, Geno had bottom 5 O-line in the NFL pass protecting for him.
That's what I need to get more
banged up. I mean, you had
Some
like a
weeks
dozen guys that played, I believe, for them this year along the offensive line. When you have a dozen guys seeing snaps in your
That's
O-line,
insane. You got no chance.
you got no chance, unfortunately. So, yeah, Geno's easily the best option, and I think we both agree. I would put more years on him. I think give yourself that flexibility from cap perspective, and then also, like, if you're drafting a guy, you always want to draft the guy before you need to draft the guy.
Correct.
So it still doesn't preclude you from drafting the guy. All right, next question comes from Dinko. Where would you rank Shedeur and Ward in the 2024 QB class?
So last year's quarterback.
So, yeah.
So I'm going back and forth with this. I think I had Shedeur, and this is, Cam, and this was based off the college film, not from what we've seen these rookies do this year.
Yeah.
I think you have to put that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I had Cam either right in front of Drake or right behind him.
Okay, so
like
where'd you have?
four. So I had mine was Jaden, then Caleb, then I was then Michael Penix Jr.
Okay.
Then I had Drake, then I think Cam.
Okay.
And then I think I had Shedeur right maybe after him. I think based off the tape.
Yeah.
Because the McCarthy thing, I wasn't a big fan of. Didn't see much of it in college. Now he does with velocity and a lot of tight window throws. And then Bo Nix, again, I was worried about his arm strength. A lot of dinking and dunking at Oregon. So I think I had Shedeur in front of him. So I think 5 and 6 or 4 and 5 is what I had him.
I would have Cam Ward as 5 in last year's class. Again, I went to bat for last year's class. I said I had 4 guys who I'd take number 1 overall in last year's class. Those were, I had the order was Caleb, Drake, Bo, Jaden. I thought they were all awesome prospects. And then I had...
You took Bo 1?
Yeah, I would have been. I thought he was that good. Not like, I'm saying like in a vacuum, if there's basically, go back to the 2022 class where Kenny Pickett was QB1.
Yeah.
I would have taken Bo number 1 in that class, right? So I think he was that good. So I would have put Ward 5 then. I think those 4, Ward, I just thought all those 4 were like much more polished coming out.
And then in front of Penix.
I'd have him in front of Penix, have him in front of McCarthy. I would then have Shedeur behind those 2, though, behind Penix and McCarthy. I think so. That would be, I guess, 6, 7. So last year's class, it would have been quarterback 8 in last year's class. And it would be even, I like Spencer a good amount, not a ton. I think Shedeur would be slightly ahead of Spencer Rattler for me, but it's like that's more the caliber of prospect I see him. Unfortunately, it's just like he has not a great arm, which you see when Shedeur when he throws down the field in last year's class, dead last in terms of arm strength. If you just ranking him, and all the other guys.
Bo's?
No, but did you see Bo had the farthest throw in the farthest completion in the NFL this year?
I'm talking about that 57-yarder?
Yeah, the one.
Or the one to Mims you're talking about.
I saw Josh Allen throw it on the sideline 60 yards down the right sideline in Detroit. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that one was. But Bo had the drop back.
Yes.
What was it? Week?
It was like, oh my God.
What week was it that Bo had that? Week 17 maybe? Or week 18?
Was it versus the Bengals?
Versus the Bengals. It was the Mims play.
Yeah, it was because then he hit him again later on in the fourth quarter.
The play action where he goes from he was at his own 40.
Well, he had one week 18 that was 57 air yards versus the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Just Cortland Sutton on a go ball.
And I saw Shedeur trying to put it. I've never seen him get to 60. yards in the air.
That's not an issue for Cam Ward.
And when he taps out, Cam Ward has every single game he's putting one over 60.
He's like Raul Mondesi. I don't know if you guys remember Raul Mondesi. He was a right fielder when we were growing up. And for those non-baseball fans, that's where you put the guy with the strongest arm.
Yeah.
Raul Mondesi hit bombs, and he just had a rocket launcher. And Cam Ward looks like he's just casually 75.
I used to do this thread every year where I would tweet out the longest throw of every top college quarterback's collegiate career, just as like a proxy for arm strength. And Ward had one against Cal this past fall that was 66 or 67, depending on how you want to do the Pythagorean theorem. That was just a freaking bomb, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he puts them out there deep. And most guys, if you're touching mid 60s, that's tier 1 arm strength.
Correct.
So like that's high end arm strength for the NFL. A lot of guys scrape by. Like I didn't think Jaden had a great arm. I thought his collegiate career, he got to about 60, I think was his longest. And you saw him on the 65 on the Hail Mary. It was about tapping out for him. But that's good enough NFL arm strength, right? You're seeing it with him. But if the guys that struggle to get over 60, Jalen Hurts is in that category. Brock Purdy's in that category. Tua's sure in that category. I think he never hit one longer than like 53 in college. You're going to be limited. And that's how I see Shedeur at the next level, unfortunately. Next up, top 5 positional groups in the draft. I don't know how deep you are in this year's draft, Jay, but I'll start.
D-line's one.
D-line.
It's not even close.
It's edge and DT are probably like 1 and 2. Correct. I think edge is probably 1. DT is 2.
Is Abdul Carter the first one?
That's where the talent is.
Yeah. I think he can be generational.
He's a carbon copy of.
That's the thing. So people are going to do that comparison because they both were number 11.
Bro, I'm telling you, he gives me the same nightmares that Micah does.
Yeah, no, 100%. The versatility for sure. I think Micah's a little bit more thick than him.
Thick.
Yeah.
Which gives me even more nightmares about this.
Carter's got better. Carter's got better
because he's just like.
That's what I'm going to say. Yeah.
This guy, Micah Parsons, is a bigger target than Abdul Carter. And I feel like Abdul Carter has like an NFL level understanding of leverage and getting guys to a spot. And like you said, the first 10 rushes may be setups. His first 3 are setups.
After the second or third one, he's ready to go.
Yeah. So I go edge, DT, running back is very deep. For sure. Tight end is going to be a very good class.
Pretty good class.
You might have a couple first rounders in that. And then after that, I'd probably either say those are like, after that, there's not really a great class year on year. I think those are the only 4. I'm like, these are probably better classes than you get normally. I don't think there's any other position where I'd put that on, but maybe cornerback, depending on how you want to see Travis Hunter. If you see Travis Hunter cornerback, then probably cornerback. It would sway
to that.
Anybody checked in on that?
I got like 4 guys going in the first. I think Amos is a first round quarterback.
Okay.
A lot of people have him top of the second. I think he'll sneak in the back of the first.
Gotta check in on Travis.
But I would agree with Mike. That's why I said D-line right away. And that's essentially 2 position groups, D tackle, D end. Running back is a monster class this year. And like it really is. Like there's some guys that'll probably go in the 3rd round, kind of like Bucky Irvin, that will be starters in the NFL. Like it's that deep.
So I know Genty and I know Skattebo. Who are the other guys that I should have my eye on?
Ooh,
Kid from North Carolina.
Yes, Marion Hampton.
Yep.
You have
that name.
Yeah.
Quinshon Judkins, Trayvon Henderson, the 2.
Have they declared yet?
No, but I mean, they have until, if you're in the championship, you have until the 24th.
It said Singleton's coming back.
Yeah, Nick Singleton, unfortunately, coming back. I thought he would have gone high.
I thought he was going to go
because he's going to run fast and he's big. And it's just like, that's combination.
You got RJ Harvey from UCF.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Trying to think who else. There's a bunch.
There's a lot, dude. The kid from Virginia Tech's a good player.
I
forgot how to say his name. But there's the running back is deep this year, kind of like deep.
And speaking of, this next one comes from Udit Rana Saria. He says, "Why aren't people higher on Cam Skattebo?"
He's another running back.
Racist.
I think when you look at him,
I was like, yeah, he's so pale.
He's a great football player, right?
Yes.
I think athletically he's limited in some areas. But if you're looking for a guy in like the 4th round that's going to come in and be a war daddy on special teams.
He's a Kansas City Chief already.
He does look like a Chief.
Andy Reid loves the
guy that is just going to bring that grit and determination.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of guy you want. And those are guys, some teams will maybe even take a little bit higher than he probably would.
Culture guys.
Culture guys, the perfect way to explain it.
Yeah, I think his like pure 1-step burst and then long speed is just like It's not what people are looking for in today's NFL, right? Like everyone wants a little more juice at that position than he's going to give you. But he could be like a Brian Robinson at the next level. Like he could be a guy that really grinds out yardage. So
he won the third.
He won the third.
That's what I'm saying. So like guys like him, Audric Estime, they go like fourth, fifth.
But they're guys.
Yeah. And he will be in the league.
Yeah. What did Prisco say? You can find running backs anywhere.
You know, he's the guy. That's where you draft him, third, fourth, fifth round.
Oh my gosh.
And that leads us to our final one here from Joe Tusio. He says, how good should a running back be to warrant a top 10 pick? So to me, it's not as much about how good should they be. I mean, obviously, if you're Ashton Genty, if you're Adrian Peterson, like I'm willing to take you in the top 10. Is
Genty an AP guy?
But I'm not passing on like top 10 other position players to draft them, right? Like
positional value is a real thing.
You just said Ashton Genty and Adrian Peterson in the same sentence. Is that even a thing?
No, I mean,
it's a different NFL. That's the thing, right? So, like,
but Genty can catch way better than Peterson.
Yeah, but I think that's still a question mark for me. Handoffs. Like when you look at him, his ability to catch the ball in the backfield, I don't think it's on par with Bijan or Jameer.
No, he's not that.
And to me, that's what warrants a top 10, top 15 pick.
And he's got a real small target rate.
Correct. So, like, Dallas does make sense at 12, but if I'm not mistaken, that's where Gibbs went, right? So I'm like, are you putting him in the Gibbs category? Because as people love to say, these airbacks, right, guys? Like
airbacks,
catch the ball. Like, I don't think he's done it consistently enough. Now, I'm not saying Genty can't do it, but I'm one of those guys, again, the exception to the rule. I have had to see it on film, and I saw it from Jahmyr Gibbs. And actually, I had Gibbs rated higher than Bijan Robinson. People looked at me crazy. I don't think a lot of people looking at me crazy now. Now, again, Bijan Robinson's a hell of a back.
Jahmyr Gibbs is so damn good.
Gibbs' acceleration is second to none.
But that's what like everyone wants, right? They want a Devon A-Chain. They want a Jahmyr Gibbs. Those are the guys that are terrifying. Saquon Barkley, that can hit home runs to that degree. I mean, I think Genty's going to run fast, though. Yeah. I think he's going to put up some numbers in the 40s.
He'll go first, but I think you start talking about him around 17, 18, 19, 20 pick.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be a conversation where it's like Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan potentially is a top 12 guy, even though Dallas makes a ton of sense.
I do think in this class specifically, I'd be willing to right at the back end of the top 10. I think he's that good, and I don't think you're passing on any good players. Now, last year, I wouldn't have taken him until like the mid-20s in last year's class. Last year's class was just like, I was so high in it. You had Jared Verse 19, right? Yeah. And that wasn't even like, no one saw that as like a slide, and pretty much all the guys that got drafted above him, all the guys that got drafted above him have balled out too. It's not like anyone drafted above him.
For sure.
Really,
Latu, I thought was a good pick, and I think he'll be a good player.
So last year's class was just different. I wouldn't have taken a guy even close to that, but this year's class, I just fail to see a lot of top end talent. Like you're passing on guys to draft Genty, who is going to be nasty at the next level. Like you see it, you can feel confident to draft someone who's like a big time project, say like a Michael Williams out of Georgia. That guy's just such a boomer.
Thank you. I was having this conversation with Ryan Williams, and I love Michael, but I see Trayvon Walker all over again. Yeah. Now, again, Trayvon Walker's actually had a really good career, back-to-back 10-sack seasons, which you can't scoff about. People will say, well, they made the wrong decision because, Hutchinson was going to be Defensive Player of the Year. But I'm like, this dude still had 10 sacks in back-to-back years.
But just say he's like, Genty is, let's just say he's Bijan Robinson at the next level. Say that's who he ends up becoming.
That's a lot, though. That's saying a lot.
Are you taking Trayvon Walker right now or Bijan Robinson on your football team?
Probably Bijan.
So that's like if you're taking.
I don't think he's Bijan though.
Okay, that's just if you think he is. So they're asking in a.
Yeah, if you think he's Bijan, you take him over Michael. And that's the thing. So like this edge class, there's a lot of guys. Like there's Abdul Carter, and then I say there's the rest. But there's a lot of like high level guys when you talk about Prince from Ole Miss. You talk about Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. Nick's, how do you say it? Scorton.
Yeah.
Like, so this is a deep class, but when you talk about foundational, I don't know if any of those guys fit in that.
I 100% agree.
But the conversation we had, positional value is a real thing. Mm-hmm. So guys are going to err on, I'd rather take an edge guy than a running back here, just because I know that position, to Kyle's point, and I've said this for years, the league is run by passers and pass rushers.
Yeah, and protectors.
And guys that stop them from getting. So like they're gonna err on taking a lineman or a defensive lineman before they take a running back.
I do think the pendulum swung though from running backs don't matter to, oh man, everyone's playing too high. We have to run the ball.
Exactly.
It swung very wild.
Got to get him out of this.
Exactly.